So this is the Soundcore Motion X600. Now personally, I think this is an impressive speaker and you get a great bang for your buck. It looks very elegant, but more importantly, it sounds really good, and that upward firing driver really does wonders. But today, we're going to see how the Motion X600 stacks up to the Sony XG300 and the Sony XE300. Regarding pricing, the XE300 has a retail price of $200, but this thing likes to go on sale on a regular basis for around $150. Then there's the Soundcore Motion X600, which has a retail price of $200, but likes to go on sale for $180. And finally, there's the Sony XG300, which has a retail price of $350, but this thing likes to go on sale for $200. Now, even though I do have my critiques about the XG300, at $200, it is very hard to not consider the XG300. Nonetheless, if you want to pick any of these speakers up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, pick up a Big Head approved hat, link down below. We've got trucker hats and snapbacks. By buying a hat, you help the unbiased and unsponsored videos coming, and it also helps us cover more products and produce more versus videos. Thank you to everyone who's already bought a hat, and look out for more designs coming soon. Now first, let's talk about the design of these speakers. The XE300 is technically a medium-sized speaker, but it's pretty large for a mid-sized speaker. Whereas the XG300 is a large-sized portable speaker, and then there's the X600, which sits in between these two speakers. That's why I refer to it as a plus-size medium speaker. Nonetheless, all three of these speakers are great for both at-home use and to constantly take them on the go with you. But Sony speakers are better options if you're looking for something portable and durable. Now, both the XG300 and X600 have built-in carrying handles, so they're both easy to take on the go with you. But then there's also the material choice of these speakers. Now, the X600 has a mostly metal body, which I think looks and feels very elegant, and personally, I would hate to get this metal body scratched. Whereas the XG300 has a mostly fabric wrapped body, so it's going to do a much better job of standing up to constant abuse, and the XE300 has a mostly soft touch covered body, which is also going to be fairly durable. But the important thing here is that all three of these speakers are water resistant. However, something that the XG300 does have over both of these speakers is that it has a built-in light feature. But this light feature is tucked away in the passive radiators of this speaker, making it rather hard to see. So personally, I just use this speaker with its light feature turned off, and instead I enjoy the improved battery life. Now, when it comes to battery life, I feel the battery life on the Motion X600 is decent, especially when you take its size into consideration. Now, the X600 has an advertised battery life of 12 hours, but real-world use with the speaker playing at 80% volume, and with its spatial audio feature turned on, and with its bass-up feature turned on as well, which is how you should be using this speaker all of the time. The speaker is good for about 8 hours of playback time, which is not bad at all. But then there's the XG300, which has an advertised battery life of 25 hours, but real-world use with the speaker playing at 80% volume, and with its mega bass feature turned on, and with its light feature turned off, which is how I like to use the speaker on a regular basis, is good for about 11 hours of playback time, which is very impressive. However, if you were to use the speaker with the light feature turned on, then that is going to drain your battery life a little faster, and also if you were to use this speaker with LDAC, that's going to drain your battery life a little faster as well. But then there's the XE300, which has an advertised battery life of 14 hours with its mega bass feature turned on. But real-world use with this speaker playing at 80% volume, it's good for about 8 hours of playback time. Now, I know this speaker has an advertised battery life of 24 hours, but that's while this speaker is in stamina mode. And personally, I don't like to use stamina mode on this speaker because stamina mode makes this speaker sound super flat. But when it comes to charging all of these speakers, they all charge via a USB-C port, as they should. But on the XE300, this is the only port that you'll find on this speaker. Whereas with both the XG300 and X600, they both still have audio jacks, so you can still use them with a wired connection if you want. But the XG300 is the only speaker here that has a USB-A out port, so that you can charge your own devices. Now, when it comes to Bluetooth connectivity, all three of these speakers can be connected to two devices at the same time, so you and a friend can both be DJ. And when it comes to audio codecs, all three of these speakers have support for SBC, AAC, and LDAC, which is Sony's own in-house high-res audio codec. However, just keep in mind that if you want to use LDAC, you do have to be an Android user because iPhones top out at AAC. And also, if you do decide to use LDAC, that is going to take an additional toll on the battery life. But now let's talk about sound. Regarding speaker setups, the XE300 has a very standard speaker setup of dual front firing woofers and dual passive radiators. Then there's the XG300, which has dual front firing woofers, dual front firing tweeters, and dual passive radiators that shoot out the sides. And finally, there's the X600, which has dual front firing woofers and dual front firing tweeters, and it also has that upward firing driver. But now we're going to jump into the sound test. Now, since both of Sony's speakers lean towards a warmer sound signature, the XE300 is playing at 94% volume, the XG300 is playing at 87% volume, and they both have their mega bass feature turned on, and the X600 is playing at 75% volume with its spatial audio and bass up feature turned on as well, which is how you should be using the speaker most of the time.
Tell me if you're hurt and I'll be there. Carry you away to the promised land. Feel your heartbeat and don't be scared. 'Cause I'll be there, yes I'll be there. You and I, we can fly anywhere you wanna go. Find a place we can hide, we can make it on our own. Go along for the ride, to the stars just follow. You and I, side by side, dancing in your halo. Think I'm leaving. In your mind I know that you're hurting, that I'll be there, yes I'll be there. You and I, we can fly anywhere you wanna go. Find a place we can hide, we can make it on our own. Go along for the ride, to the stars just follow. You and I, side by side, dancing in your halo.
So first, I think we need to address max volume performance on these speakers. Since the Motion X600 has a more balanced, slightly brighter sound signature to it, this speaker gets decently loud for its size, and it's the loudest sounding speaker here. Whereas with both of Sony's speakers, since they both lean towards a warmer sound signature, they don't seem as loud. Now, you can always go into their app and you can raise the mids and treble on these speakers, but even still, these speakers still lean towards a warmer sound signature. Nonetheless, the XG300 gets as loud as the X600, but it has a lot more bass. But with the XE300, this speaker is the kind of speaker that you're going to have to use at a higher volume on a regular basis. But when it comes to the overall sound quality of these speakers, the XE300 has the warmer sound signature to it and it has a lot of bass. But the instrument separation isn't as good because it doesn't have any tweeters, so the highs aren't as detailed. Whereas with the XG300, since this thing thing has tweeters, it has better instrument separation than the XE300. It gets louder and it also has the most amount of bass here. But then there's the X600. Now this speaker has as much bass as the XE300, but this speaker sounds a lot more balanced and it also sounds more open than these other two speakers thanks to that upward firing driver. Overall, the X600 is the speaker to go with if you want something with great instrument separation, whereas the XG300 is the one to go with if you want more bass. But finally, let's talk about pairing these speakers up with other speakers. Now with the Motion X600, if you have another Motion X600, then you can wisely pair them up and get them to play in left and right stereo mode. Whereas with both of these Sony speakers, they're both using Sony's Party Connect. Now again, if you have two of these same speakers, you can wisely pair them up and get them to play in left and right stereo mode. Or you can pair them up to any of Sony's other Party Connect speakers, like let's say an XG500, an XG300, an XE300, XE200, or an XB43, XB33, or XB23. And you can get them all to play in sync and you can have up to 100 speakers paired together. But also, you can pair your smaller Sony speakers to any of Sony's larger speakers that are also using Party Connect, like let's say an XV900, an XV800, an XP700, or an XP500. So if you plan on buying multiple speakers and if you plan on pairing them together on a regular basis, then here Sony is the better option. And in general, Sony is super accommodating because you can pair your smaller, more portable speakers to Sony's larger box speakers. Just keep in mind, even though Sony's Party Connect is super accommodating, sometimes it can be a little bit of a hassle to use. Sometimes it takes a while for all of your speakers to get paired up. Sometimes all of your speakers don't get paired up on the first try, so you're gonna have to go through the pairing process multiple times, and sometimes your music does skip. Now, this doesn't happen all of the time, but this is just a heads up as to what to expect. But with all that being said, for me, it's a little hard to recommend the XE300 unless you're getting a very solid deal on it. But when it comes to comparing the Soundcore Motion X600 and the Sony XG300, personally, I do lean towards the XG300 here because it has a much longer lasting battery life, and personally, I do like a warmer sound signature. And I prefer its durable body, and there's that light feature if you want it. But this is only if the XG300 is on sale for $200. But the Soundcore Motion X600 is also a really good speaker to consider, especially if you want the better instrument separation here. Personally, I really hope that we see more upward firing drivers on portable Bluetooth speakers in the future. Now, even though the X600 is also a portable Bluetooth speaker and you can definitely take it on the go with you, this is a speaker that I would rather use mostly at home because I would hate to get its metal body scratched. But nonetheless, with the Soundcore Motion X600, you're definitely getting a lot of bang for your buck. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit the like button and get subscribed. If you want to pick any of the products up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch. I made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And you know I can be very particular, so I'll only slap my name on something if I'm really proud of it.